And this one is a small hidden role card game, but this one is not a social deduction game. The game offers both a competitive and cooperative mode of play, but the main goal here is that players are trying to create a pizza together. In the competitive mode, you're trying to create a pizza that scores best for you, but in the cooperative mode, you're going to be creating 2 different pizzas and then scoring the one that scores best for all the players. What's really cool about this game is that in each of these modes, all players score independently, which means in the versus mode, you can actually have multiple winners. The threshold for this is also really simple. All you need to do is have at least 1 point, but in the cooperative mode, if any player has less than 1 point, then all the players lose. Players start the game with 5 action cards, and these are all the cards that you get in the game, and you're going to be using those mostly to move toppings either on or off the pizza. The hidden roll comes into play with these hidden roll cards that are also going to be randomly dealt at the beginning of the game, and each of these cards are going to dictate your specific scoring conditions that only apply to you. This is why I don't really consider this one a social deduction game, because you're not actually trying to guess the other rolls of the other players or if someone's on your team or not. You're just trying to roll with the punches while competing with the other players' objectives, trying to get that 1 point, although it is helpful to see what the other players are doing, so you might have an idea of which toppings they like and which toppings they don't. And I do want to thank the publisher here because they were kind enough to send me a prototype copy of the game, so I can just go ahead and show you how this game plays. And the way that you set it up is that you're going to have this not on the pizza card here on the left-hand side with all the toppings. Then you're going to have this on the pizza card on the right. These are all the toppings offered in the game, and like I said, you're going to be using your action cards to move them on or off the pizza. And you can also flip these cards to increase the amount of that topping that is on the pizza, which is going to multiply the points for that topping depending on how it scores for each particular player. What I like about this game is that the roll cards also have a player aid. Although the game is very easy to play and teach, it is nice to have, and I think it's pretty convenient since you do keep your roll secret. My roll is the fishy fin because I do like the anchovies the most. They're worth 4 points for me. And then the sausage and the mushrooms are each worth 2 points, but then I do lose points for the pineapples and the olives. One thing to note here is that those negative points do multiply if someone were to put a topping I don't like and then add extra of it, so I really don't want that to happen. The game does offer quite a lot of these roll cards, so you do have variety from game to game, and it also allows for a higher player count. Players are also each dealt 5 of these conversation cards at the beginning of the game, and these are going to be giving you all sorts of different actions that you can use by discarding the card. And like I said, you're going to be using that to manipulate the board, flip different cards, and get them on and off the pizza. One thing to note about these cards is that they can also add and subtract victory points at the end of the game if you haven't played them. And some of those cards are unplayable, meaning that you will have to keep them till the end of the game, but I don't see any of the unplayable cards here that have a negative value. As I mentioned before, the roll cards do remain hidden, but since I'm just playing against myself here, I'm just going to go ahead and reveal them all so that I understand the strategy of each of the players. But don't worry, I am very forgetful. This player here is a carnivore Kate, and they basically like anything that's meat and dislike anything that's not, so that does work well with my fishy fin roll. This player here is the Hawaiian Huey, so they want something that's close to a Hawaiian pizza. And this player is the Picky Pete, who just likes a particular set of items and dislikes a particular set of other ones. Just taking a quick look at my hand here, I do have one card that is unplayable, but it is worth a victory point at the end of the game, so I'm just going to put that out of the way for now. But then I do have 3 cards that are negative victory points, so I really want to get rid of those. Then my last one is just a simple action card, but it doesn't add or remove victory points, so I'll probably just play that one last. And the actions here are pretty straightforward and easily outlined on the card. It just says choose one, and for the top card I can either move or flip, whereas the bottom card I can either move or flip or do both. I think to start out the game, I just want to see what the other players are going to be doing, so I'm just going to do something that doesn't affect me a whole lot, but might mislead the other players as to what I'm going for. So I'm going to play this card for its move action, and I'm just going to move over the ham because ham does not affect me in any way whatsoever, and I still have those 3 other action cards to try and manipulate things as the game comes a little bit closer to the end. One thing to note about this game is that it has a really cool end game trigger because the end of the game is triggered once a majority of players have passed in a row. Since we have 4 players at the table, that means if 3 of them were to pass in a row, that would actually end the game. This means that if I just did that and that allowed all the players at the table to have at least 1 point, it's very possible that they could all pass and I'd end up with a negative score. Lucky for me, that's not the case because this player would be getting -2 right now from that card. And then they do also have some negative point cards in their hand that they'll probably want to get rid of. So they're just going to be doing a similar move as me, and they're going to be playing a card in order to move a card. And they're going to send the onion on over and add that to the pizza. This player also has a few minus cards that they do want to get rid of, so they're going to be doing a similar action, but rather than moving a card, they're going to be flipping the ham card over. This would probably indicate that that player really wants ham, but that doesn't really affect me since there's no multiplier to worry about. It does help this player, but it hurts this player quite a bit. This player actually has 4 minus cards, so even though they really do like that ham, they still have a little bit of work to do to get to positive points here. So they are going to go ahead and move the anchovy over. That's great for me because I now stand at positive points, so I could go ahead and play a card, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and pass and see what the other players do first, and this player really does not want anchovies or ham, but they do want pepperoni, so they're going to be playing this card to move and flip the pepperoni onto the pizza. This player, of course, doesn't want the pepperoni, so they're going to be a little cheeky and do the exact opposite move. Move and flip the pepperoni off the pizza. This next player is going to be even cheekier because they're going to use that same card to put the pepperoni right back on because they know that they used that powerful card already. They used that powerful card already, so there's a good chance that this is either going to stay on the pizza or at least remain flipped. Like I said, there's a bunch of these cards that are not used in the game, so it is possible that players could have multiple of those powerful cards, but they are a little bit more rare. I'm still in the same situation here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass again, but then the next player is not in a great situation because they still have all these negative cards and they really don't want that ham on the pizza, so they're going to use their card to move it off the pizza. This player is getting pretty sick of me passing all the time, so they're actually going to use this card where they choose another player, and then I have to choose to move or flip a card. And I guess I'll go ahead and throw the sausage on, which wasn't what they were hoping for, but it does help me. Thanks to that, this player is now sitting at positive 1 point, so they're going to pass. And then I'm only in a better situation, so I'm going to pass. And because we both just passed, this puts this player in a unique position of power because they can decide if they want to end the game with certainty. They only have 2 minus cards left in their hand, and then the pepperoni, the sausage, and the onion are actually giving them 8 points, while the anchovy is subtracting 2. So that is a net positive, so this player is going to pass. Everyone laughs at this player for making such a foolish mistake. Then we all reveal our final scores, and anyone that has at least a point wins the game. But of course, anyone with a little bit more points wins a little bit more. That player receives the one thing that's just a little bit more priceless than a crown, and that is a really nice mustache. As I mentioned, the cooperative mode plays almost identical to this. The only difference is you're going to be flipping these over, and then you're going to have 2 pizzas that you'll be able to assign toppings to. Players will choose one to score at the end of the game, and if everyone gains at least 1 point, then they win altogether. Really fun game here, especially because it is so easy to teach and play, and it just plays in about 10 minutes. And I really like that you don't need to figure out what exactly everyone's role is. You're just interested to see what people like and what they don't, so that you can set up the table in such a way so that the majority of players are passing when it does benefit you. As an Italian and a pizza lover, the theme doesn't hurt either. If this one looks interesting to you as well, definitely feel free to check it out, and I will have it linked in the description down below.